One of the most salient and important parts of any transformational process is the identity shift that occurs. Some spiritual entrepreneurs are confused, thinking that as we become more enlightened, we leave all identities behind. And from the absolute or non-dual perspective, that is true. But from the embodied and relative self and perspective, that is not true. In fact, if you are constantly trying to escape any identity or personality, I promise you, both of these will be delayed, the awakening and the success. So in this video, we're going to explore how to move from an identity of self that you have now, that has gotten you the results that you're getting right now, into a version of you that actually can have the next version of success, the next iteration of success that your business is asking of you, and I believe that your soul is asking of you. So we're going to go through a number of parts of transformation. And there's a worksheet with this video that you can walk through. You get to decide how you want to do this, whether you want to pause and fill out the worksheet as you go, or you want to just watch this whole thing and fill out the worksheet later, or if you don't give a shit about the worksheet and you just want to watch the video, all of that is completely up to you. This is your journey. So, one of the most important things I need to invite you into a questioning of for yourself is how you perceive the ego. Like the identity, many people on the spiritual path are convinced that they need to transcend their ego. And that, in some sense, again, from the absolute, from the non-dual, is true. But spiritual entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in general need to have a strong ego because it's part of how we create in the world. It's part of how we do self. It's part of how we actually navigate our day-to-day life experience. The confusion for most people is that they have an assumption that the ego means that there is a way of utilizing power that takes advantage of other people or creates false dichotomies of being better than someone else, being arrogant. They think that if you are egoic in the standard sense of the word, that you have to in some way be a bad person. And that's just simply not true. The truth of it is that the ego is part of how I know who I am and I know how I relate to others. It's part of how we strive towards things. It's part of how we decide what is good for us. And it's part of how we set boundaries. And if you have a business without boundaries, you're not going to have a business for very long. If you don't know what to strive for because everything is universal bliss, you're not going to have a business for very long. And in fact, there's some research by Jeffrey Martin. He produced what's called the Finders Course and a book subsequently called The Finders. And he found that many people who were very spiritually awakened and just residing in bliss all the time were actually quite useless in their day-to-day experience. They had a hard time maintaining jobs, being a part of a family, having meaningful social interactions, because why would they? They were just in effortless bliss consistently. That's one path. You may choose to do that. There may be a season of your life which you do that. If this is not that season and you are building a business, I'm going to invite you into finding a healthy expression, an appropriate expression of your ego. And know that you can be strong, you can be capable, you can have a personality, you can have likes and dislikes, you can be salty, you can swear like you heard me do a minute ago. You can have all of these parts of who you are, and that doesn't damage your awakening. In fact, it makes you much more real to the people who want to buy something from you. So, as you know, the way in which we exist in this relative 3D, what I sometimes call the gross realm reality, is based on illusions. It's a dualistic realm. But to try to escape that as fact will disadvantage you in almost every way in life. And in fact, it violates the Buddhist two truths doctrine. The fact that an absolute truth, the non-dual, is real, and the relative is real. And by trying to escape the relative into the absolute, you actually violate non-duality. So we can get into Buddhist cosmology later on. But for now, let's help you construct an identity that will allow you to fulfill your soul's mission through this business. My first question for you: what are the 3 most common thoughts or beliefs that you find yourself experiencing day in, day out about your life and about your business? This is hard. I don't know what to do. I'm only going to be able to do this for so long. No one gets me. Or this is so fun. I'm so excited by this. There are going to be, whether explicit, you know what they mean, or implicit, you haven't recognized them, thoughts and beliefs that are happening daily for you, that are part of how the mind is wrangling energy, part of how the mind is steering your attention, which means it's part of creating the outcomes that you're currently getting. Question number 2. What are the 3 most common emotions you're feeling in any given day? Sadness, joy, elation, bliss, anger, depression, confusion. What are the emotions that show up for you on a regular basis? Are you clear that pretty much in any given moment there's an emotion happening? 3 of these, the top 3, are likely determining the energy with which you show up to your business. If you don't know what these emotions are, you don't know what the energy of your business feels like. Next question. What is the range of the emotion that you allow yourself to feel? Most people fall within a very narrow range of the amount of happiness they can have, or the amount of sadness they can have. The truth is, and we'll take anger as an example, that you could be agitated, annoyed, miffed, pissed off, grumpy, angry, or maybe even enraged. So for those top 3 emotions, in whatever way it makes sense to you, I want you to give yourself a score of how between, if 10 was the most amount of range, and 2 or 0 was the least amount of range, from 0 to 10, how much of that range are you allowing yourself to experience? Next question. What are the postures you most typically find yourself in when you've gone unconscious? Spending over a decade as a chiropractor, I know the architectural principle that form follows function is also true in reverse. Function follows form. If we're like this all day long, the truth is that you actually won't have access to the same emotions, thoughts, and openness and experiences as if you're chest up and connected to a more sovereign and aligned neurology in your body. So just think about when you've lost your focus on yourself, when you're totally engrossed. What are the postures that you find yourself in? Next, where do you exist on your range of possibility? So Every experience, subconsciously, implicitly or explicitly, falls somewhere in our awareness, from impossible to inevitable. Are the things that you're doing in your business kind of somewhere in the middle? Is that actually enough certainty and energy to get them to happen? Are you taking a full swing? Are you actually energizing your business enough to allow it to be successful? And now, what is the nature of the relationships that you're experiencing? If you look at the relationships around you, how are they going? Mediocre, status quo, alive and bright and engaged, constantly transforming and up-leveling, or a little challenged, a little problematic, maybe some things that have to get cleaned up or some boundaries that need to get made. So if we look at this mental, emotional, relational, and physical set of metrics in your life, now I want you to equate them to the outcomes you're experiencing in your business. So based on who I am being in my body, who I'm being in my emotions, who I'm being in my thoughts and beliefs, and how possible I experience my life and business to be, what is that actually producing? And is that exciting? Is that compelling? I'll invite you to take a moment to just reflect on that. Is what I'm doing and how I'm being getting me what I want? And I'm not here to shame you in any way. You know that. It can be hard sometimes. But I have to tell you, it's my responsibility to tell you that sometimes the way you are being is directly correlated to the outcomes that you're getting. So now, if you feel into the future in which your business is successful in the way that you know it wants to be, and the way your soul would like to experience you operating in your business, what are the thoughts and beliefs that you must have, that your soul is saying you must have in order to be at your next level of success? What must you be thinking and believing on a regular basis in order to have the success that you want? Now, this may be a mental process or an intuitive process. Most of the way I guide my personal clients through this is by saying, I want you to feel into the future moment in which this is already happening. So depending on your metaphysics and your cosmology and the way that you like to experience energy and yourself and timelines and all of that, this may be a mental process, or you might want to feel into that future moment. I want you to feel into the future moment and see what the top 3 emotions are that you must be feeling in order to have this next level of success. Do you need to be more blissful? Do you need to be more focused? Do you need to be more grateful? Do you need to be more intense? Do you need to be more relaxed? Any of these could be the answer. I don't know what the answer is for you, but a part of you, some version of you in the past or in the future, or some timeline, does know. How are you holding your body? You may choose to stand and actually put yourself in a posture of possibility. Bring your chest up, your shoulders back. Take a nice deep breath all the way through the torso, from the belly up to the shoulder blades, and feel what it feels like to stand in certainty. What does that actually do for your outlook and your perception? And the next, what does it take to be inevitable? What would you have to be doing, saying, thinking, believing, noticing to be inevitable in your business? To be able to say with energetic alignment, this is happening. Most entrepreneurs, spiritual entrepreneurs for sure, say, I'll believe that when I know how. And I'm here to tell you, most of the time you're not going to know how. Most of the time you have to be convicted that you will achieve the outcome, and you're going to figure it out as you go. I often describe entrepreneurship as building the bridge as you're running across it. You're not always going to know how. If you could figure out how, many people think that that would give you the conviction, the energy, and the belief. It's not true. They're two independent processes. You actually have to grow the certainty, the capability, and the courage. And for some people, that might happen through fun. It might happen through being lighthearted. It might happen through gratitude. It certainly will be impacted, if not led, from the divine, from the transcendent, from the soul. But where in you do you have to reach down into to find that inevitability? And then lastly, how do you be a bright, shining light for those people in your life? How do you be a beacon of possibility? How do you uplift simply by being around them? How do you set a standard for impeccability, for care, for courage, for taking a stand for what is right and good and real? These are the necessary elements of being the entrepreneur who can be successful. These are the necessary elements to create the transformational shift, to do the things that create the successful business. So as you're feeling into that future moment where the thoughts and beliefs are nailed, where the possibility is high, where the posture is strong, and where the emotions are driving it all, I want you to see what's happening in your business because of that. Who are you serving? How many people do you have on your team? How many clients are you serving, and what are they paying you? What's happening in the world because you've chosen to become successful? What's happening in your life because you've chosen to be certain and caring and soft-bellied and open-hearted and strong-backed? You've set the boundaries that you need to set. You've had the conversations that you need to have. And that's opened up your thought and your mind and your awareness to be loving to the people who are around, to be in the healthy and engaged conversations and relationships that you want to have. So if you see yourself in all of these aspects, I want you to look at that life. And I want you to be inspired by it. I want you to be inspired by this version of you that's right there. And now the work is to be constantly navigating to that future self. I'm not suggesting in any way, shape, or form you should be repressing your emotions or any of that. You know that's not how this works. There's going to be moments where you're down, there's going to be moments where you're challenged, and in fact, this whole process is probably going to bring up things to heal. Do the healing, work on the growing. This is gap management. You are bridging the gap between who you've been and who your soul demands you must be. Bridging that gap in the being side of entrepreneurship is so critical. And it's more challenging for most spiritual entrepreneurs. They understand it, but there's more parts of self to bring online. You have more of you to bring into alignment. And you can do it. You wouldn't be here watching this. You wouldn't be to this part of this video if you didn't know that you could do this. So I'm here for it. I'm here for you. I want to hear how this is going. I want to hear if it was confronting. I want to hear what woke up inside of you. I want to know what has turned on in terms of possibility in your beingness from doing this practice and having this realization. And I want you to share this in the discussion thread and forum. I want you to be a part of the community. We never grow too long as an individual. We have to grow with others. So by sharing, you become an inspiration for someone else. By cheering someone else on, you become that exact same thing that you need in your life. We become a system of co-rising and of lifting each other up. So let me know what this did for you. I'm proud of you. This is big work. And I want you to know it's no small thing to cast a vision for yourself into the future. And it's gonna be work to hold that. And I believe you are inevitable.